Things have been pretty hectic over here as we prepare not only for baby, but for a move to the Midwest and a shift in my husband's career. I am so excited for this summer. I think it will be magical and beautiful and absolutely thrilling, but I also know with so many new things all at once that I am likely to get a little overwhelmed. My goal has been to prepare whatever I can now so that I have as few things on my plate as possible later, as well as planning in things that will bring me comfort and joy. One thing I have been really getting excited about is crafting a wardrobe that will fit this totally new season for me, but without breaking the bank or buying clothes I don't really like just because they'll fit this body I'm totally unused to. I've been watching a lot of mom, postpartum, and capsule wardrobe videos, and I decided to put my love of planning to use to plan out this special postpartum wardrobe. This way I can be excited about the clothes I'm wearing, still feel comfortable in my clothes and hopefully body, and not walk into my closet feeling grumpy because I don't want to wear sweats and a t-shirt again, but I don't own anything that fits, which is kind of how I feel right now. I already started this by making a maternity capsule wardrobe, though I'm already bigger than I expected, and I might need to buy some replacement dresses for these last few months. Right now, I am only planning for the first month after birth because I have no idea what my body will change, what size or shape I'll be, or what will actually feel comfortable or be practical breastfeeding. While I'm hopeful for a natural and a healthy birth, I still really have no idea what complications might arise, so I'm trying to be as flexible as possible. I'm also due midsummer, so after a month or two, I'll need to transition to warmer clothes anyway, which means I don't need to worry too much about summer clothes fitting long term. These items will be the immediately after birth comfort clothes. The first thing I knew I would want was pajamas that were comfortable, lightweight, breastfeeding friendly, mostly cotton or natural fibers, and that made me feel cute, not frumpy. But y'all, PJs and lounge sets are pretty expensive when you try to get something coordinating and high quality, which is why, as you've guessed, I've decided to sew my own. I found a beginner-friendly lounge set pattern, which is linked in the description, and I sewed a set in this gentle light green. Loving it, and because I always prefer to have two sets of PJs, I decided to sew the same pattern a second time, and I thought since I won't be weaving for a while as my loom is all boxed up for travel, y'all might want to sew along with me. It's worth noting that I don't have a lot of experience with sewing. I've never used a sewing pattern at all before. I have taken one sewing class. It was an accessory design class at SCAD, my undergrad, and we made bags mostly with leather. So most of my trained sewing experiences with leather. I've made garments and tailored garments myself, but I've done it all based on my own measurements, just kind of figuring things out. And to be honest, I've never done things professionally. I've just kind of wung it, and some of the outfits have worked out really well and some of them haven't. I've only ever kept two dresses that I've sewn for an extended period of time. So this was a very new experience for me. It's also just like I don't really know how to use a sewing machine. I know the basics, but if you ask me the right stitch for what job and what fabric, I really couldn't say, and I don't know the names of the stitches and I don't know the names of the pieces. So that's part of my goal, is actually learning how to sew not only efficiently but effectively, and using the proper tools and techniques to create the best garments versus just kind of pulling things together. So the fabric that I chose for the first set is this super stretchy knit fabric from Joann. I want to say it's 60% cotton, 40% polyester. I wish it were all cotton, but I could not find anything that was all cotton that wasn't for quilting. So I'm living with 40% polyester. I just find that cotton feels better against my skin and it tends to hold up better, but I digress. So I was using this fabric, and I learned a few things working with it. The first one being, on this first set of pajamas, I noticed that my hems were really rough. I didn't notice until the end of sewing all of it, but they're very stretched out, and it's very noticeable, especially when it's on, and I don't like that. So I did some research into fixing the seams, Step one being I got ballpoint needles is what was recommended via Google. So I got some ballpoint needles. I was using a universal needle. I assume I'm using the needle that came on my machine. So I'm changing that out. I also changed out the foot. As it turns out, I was using a weird foot. I don't even know what the feet are called, but I was using a weird one. So I switched it to one that will hopefully be more helpful. I also learned that you're supposed to wash your fabric before you sew with it so that any shrinkage or anything unexpected that occurs in the first wash happens before you start sewing with it. I didn't even consider that. So I sewed this on unwashed fabric and then I washed it after constructing it. I haven't tried it on again, so I hope it hasn't shrunk, but I don't think it has. But when I went and got the second bit of fabric, I just went ahead and washed that. I have it here. It is, this is the same fabric, just in a different color. I got it in the nursery section, so it's super soft, again, super stretchy. I wanted to work with the same fabric to see if I could fix the mistakes that I made on the first one and make sure that while I'm doing this process, I'm actually learning. So I decided to stick with this material. So the big changes I'll be making will be using the ballpoint needle. And then I hemmed the shirt with a straight stitch, like a straight stitch, and I learned that you're not supposed to do that. So I'm going to hem with a zigzag stitch. I looked into doing a cover stitch or a twin needle, but I decided that's not where I'm at right now. We're not gonna go buying a twin needle. So I'm just gonna use the ballpoint needle, which will hopefully help. I am going to practice on scrap fabric first and try to get the zigzag stitch to pull at the right tension, and the fabric to pull at the right tension so it doesn't stretch out like that. So I'm hopeful this one will look a little bit more together. A few other changes that I made to the pattern itself, I guess really just one. I used a 3/4 inch elastic instead of the recommended 2-inch elastic because I find that this size is really more comfortable on my big old belly and will probably be more comfortable postpartum as well versus a really thick elastic. I just feel like that's a lot of elastic. I'm sewing in a size small, but I cut my elastic at a size medium because I just have a bigger waist than is proportional to the rest of my body. So I just wanted to make sure there was a little extra give, and I want it to be really loose so that right after I have the baby, there's no tugging, it's not at all tight, but then when I get smaller, it can get smaller at least a little bit with me. So that's the plan. A little fun story. The first sewing class I was ever in for that accessory design class, again, we were sewing with leather, and so we were using the leather machines, like the industrial leather machines. And we were just kind of practicing, learning how to insert the leather and make things go. And in that very first class, while we were practicing, one of my classmates accidentally stuck his finger under the needle and had to go to the emergency room to get stitches. So my first experience with sewing, learning with other people, was a literal bloody mess. And I don't know, I look back on that fondly because I haven't stabbed myself quite yet. So I sewed the neckband on and it's looking great. Unfortunately, I sewed it on to the wrong side. So I have an inside out neckband. I'm gonna try to take out the seam and see if I can resew it. Otherwise, I will have to use my extra fabric and recut out the pieces. second error for the day. I ran out of thread. I didn't expect it to only last through one garment, so back to Joann's I go. Day 3 of sewing, kind of day 4 yesterday I went out and I bought some more thread since I had run out. It's a slightly different color, but they didn't have the same color in stock. It's close enough. I don't think anyone will be able to tell. But I didn't actually do any sewing yesterday, so I am going to sew today, and my goal is to finish today. We just did the walkthrough with the movers, and we're moving next week, so I really need to actually commit to getting this done so I can pack up my sewing machine and start packing up my studio for real. So, we're gonna finish today, in theory. So I got super focused on a podcast. I was listening to Pints with Aquinas, so I didn't film any of the last bit, but I finished the shorts. They are all done. Very simple, basic pattern, and again, I extended the elastic, so they look a little bit awkward just because the elastic is technically too big for the size, but that way it will have plenty of room for my big belly right now. But I am officially done with my second lounge set, so I am good to go. I am good to start packing up my studio and hitting the road next week. I don't know when I'm gonna film again, to be honest, because there's going to be a lot happening in the next couple weeks, and I don't know what kind of space I'll have. So it'll be pretty hit or miss for a little while, probably even through August, just because baby's gonna be coming on his way. So we'll see what I get done, but I have a lot of projects in the works. So if I am able to work on the projects and film, I should still have some stuff coming out soon. Thanks for watching the video. I have nothing else to share.